What's going on tonight? It's Tuesday night here on Divots and Pivots on That Sports Podcast Network. I'm Andrew LeDuc, a.k.a. Mr. Mallard, as always. And yes, tonight, as you can see, Bud Copeland is not joining us tonight. Instead, we have special guest Keith Flemming joining us. If you recognize Keith, he joined us for the Masters special from Gate City Casino. What was that, like a month and a half ago now? I forget how long ago the Masters was. It feels like ages. But Keith, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us. I know last minute request, but I appreciate you stepping in and talking some golf with me tonight because there's a lot to talk about. But how's your night going before we get to all that?
It's good, man. Been enjoying one of my favorite events every year that I know doesn't get a lot of buzz because there's not really gambling or DFS on it, but I love the collegiate men's and women's championship. And it was actually pretty cool. Today was the first time, I believe ever, that the 5, 6, 7, and 8 seed in the men's quarterfinals all advanced. They beat the top 4 seeds, and they're actually battling it out right now. I'm a Georgia fan, but Tech's kind of like the little brother you feel sorry for, so I always root for them. And other events, and they're actually looking like they may be moving on to the championship tomorrow, which is great for them. They have quite a golf history with Matt Kuchar, et cetera. But just one of my absolute favorite events, and appreciate the Golf Channel for the coverage and stuff they do. I wish the PGA Tour coverage would mirror it more, where they just show a lot of golf, to where I swear lately, maybe this is just me, Andrew, when you watch PGA coverage, they will stick with a player to go through a 5-minute routine or rule change or whatever. And it's just like, there's got to be somebody out there hitting shots or something else you could do with this time.
Definitely is.
Golf is a sludge anyway, to watch, like even for people like me and you that love it.
Well, that's why we've always said come Masters time, the Masters app, the way they do it, just I wish, yeah, I mean, and you can kind of do it when you watch on ESPN Plus, you can kind of get a little bit more custom with it, but the Masters app, the way they do that, where you can make your own group, where it literally does just jump nonstop. Because for some moments the commentary is great and it's entertaining. I like to get the context of what's going on, big picture with the tournament and what this specific shot means for the big picture. But yeah, when they're just, this times like you're saying, where the guy's just doing his warm-up and no one's talking. You literally just hear the birds chirping, you hear everything else going on, and they're just sitting there. I don't mind the Smiley Kaufman stuff, like when he gets out there. It was the
they need to do more of that, in my opinion. Is like I've been saying forever, it's a TV show. You want us to root in these people, have stuff ready, have the highlights of a player's rounds through 1 through 3, have an interview, tidbit, just anything to kind of give you more information. Because half these guys, like Davis Riley is a prime example, most people have no idea who the hell that dude is. And he's all over the coverage Saturday and Sunday. And I don't feel like they did a very good job of, painting a picture of exactly who he is and, why it's cool that he's winning this event.
Yeah, and that's, you're right. I don't disagree with you there. They do need to do a better job kind of filling in the blanks for your casual golf fan that is either just flipping through or even just sitting down at the bar and it's on in the background. They're hoping for something to capture their attention. And yeah, if they look up and they just see a bunch of this guy, Davis Riley, that they've never heard of, they're probably going to stop paying attention to it. Yeah, because that's just natural. But we'll get to more Davis Riley. I do want to just kick off the show with obviously the big news, because this is the news could easily take over the entire show. I want to give it its due respect, but at the same time, I don't want to spend the whole show on it. But obviously, Grayson Murray, Saturday morning, the passing, it came out on Sunday later. The family put it out there, suicide. Just absolutely devastating, brutal story. I don't want to say too much on it because I don't want to sit here and pretend like I knew the guy personally, obviously, because I didn't. And I don't want to put words in people's mouths. But it's just sad. I don't know how else to describe it. When I got the news Saturday night, I was hanging out with friends, and I read the news as if I did know him. That's how it just felt, because it's just a 30-year-old man in the spotlight, just feeling like he had to go there is devastating to me. It shines a light on other men in the world, sports industry, athletes, or whatever, just anybody, any man out there who just doesn't feel like he has a place to talk, doesn't feel like he has a place to be heard. That's devastating to me. That's the saddest part. And we've just got to do more to change that. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. We'll talk more about Harry Higgs. He had some words on it as well. But, I mean, do you have anything you want to say specifically on Grayson Murray? I obviously know how you feel about it, but is there anything you would like to say on the subject?
I mean, unfortunately, I have lost 3 friends in my lifetime, like pretty good friends, to suicide. So I am well aware of just what his family, friends, etc., are going through, because it's human nature to then question, what could I have done? It's just sad to know that, and this is what I've always, told people. I hate when people use a term like easy way out, stuff like that. When a person has reached that point, I could not imagine the mental anguish that they are going through on a day through day, basis, to just reach to that point. And then finally, is just, to me, like one of the golden rules of life is just be kind to others if you can. Don't get me wrong, we all have our bad moments. I am definitely, as somebody who rants and gets upset about stuff, I don't always handle stuff the best. But if you go into every situation trying to treat people with kindness and patience, and just think that you have no idea what is going on with the other person that you're having this altercation from. They could be having the worst day, month, year ever. I just think this world would be a better place. And then obviously, again, it's just, I know it's easy as we get older to, time passes by. I know I'm guilty of it. You have friends, family, etc., that you're not nearly as close to as you used to be, but you never know the impact it can have from just reaching out on a regular basis just to check up on people, because depending on their situation, they may not have anybody doing that. And I know a phone, text, messaging, all that stuff, it works both ways, but at the end of the day, I don't think you're ever going to feel sorry for reaching out for somebody that you consider a friend, family member, someone you love, care about, and it can have a really positive impact.
Yeah, and that's because I know just even growing up with over the years with my group of friends as we've gotten older, you do sometimes have that feeling where you don't want to put your problems on anybody else's shoulders or mind, and you don't. On the other hand, you don't want to intrude on other people's lives. But yes, sometimes to just send a random text and be like, "Hey, how you like how are you?" And what I really mean is, how are you? Like, I'm not just trying to start a conversation. I really want to make sure you're doing good. And look, if you're intruding on their life, they'll let you know one way or another. You'll find out if you should have or shouldn't have. But
whether verbally or they just stop hitting you back, you usually get the hint. Exactly. It never hurts to try, man.
It doesn't hurt to try, and if anything, it just shows them that even if they don't need or want you in that moment for a shoulder to be hurt or whatever, they know that you might be there, and again in the future if they need you. It's just to me the basic human connection that I think everyone just needs to be really mindful of. So we obviously send our prayers, our thoughts, and our condolences to the Murray family. Can't even imagine or put words into any more than that. So I'm going to respectfully stop it there and try to move on, because I thought Harry Higgs is someone who handled the moment on Sunday after winning his second straight Korn Ferry Tour event. I thought he used the moment to tastefully say pretty much exactly what we were just saying here, but obviously in a much bigger stage and a bigger opportunity. And I just hope that his words got through. But Harry Higgs went out there and won again on the Korn Ferry Tour. And if you're not familiar with the way the Korn Ferry Tour works, he's one win away from getting back on the PGA Tour now. And not even just that. If he gets that one more win, he's immediately effective back on the PGA Tour, if you're not familiar with that. So,
which, just to clarify, he's going to be he's getting back to the PGA Tour worst case next year. But to your point, yeah, why not go ahead and get half of a free year where you could get, exemptions and other things moving forward. And it's basically a free roll, because he's still going to get all of next year, whether he qualifies by winning that third event and start now, or whether it's just being one of the top 25, which again, with 2 wins, he's assured to do at this point.
Yeah, and he's I believe I saw he's number 2 right now. So like you said, that's pretty much a lock. I do want to point out, so the last time, because like I said, this is his second win in a row, 2 straight weeks. the last time, or not the last time, because this actually happened, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, someone won their way on mid-season into the PGA Tour. I just forget who it was. But back in 2005, Jason Gore was the last guy to do it in such a small span. He won 3 times in a month in a 4-week span. So we're talking about something that Harry Higgs has a chance to do here that hasn't been done since 2005. So keep your eyes on the Korn Ferry Tour because history is coming. And Harry Higgs, look, he's not someone who, when he's on the PGA events, blows it out of the water, but he is for sure popped up in my rankings in the past. He's a solid golfer who I think carries himself with a lot of integrity and a lot of kind of swagger to know what to do when he's out there in the spotlight.
And the tour needs guys like Harry Higgs right now. Like part of the issue with the Live is there's not enough characters. Xander Schauffele is an incredible golfer. Not exactly a fun hang. Scotty Scheffler. You know, I know it's amazing what getting locked up will do. The cheers and stuff seem to be a lot more for Scheffler, right? Like I guess now he's got that thug life going, but again, not exactly an exciting guy. Right. Harry Higgs is amazing. He's a guy that took his shirt off at the Waste Management after holding a putt while they rained beers on him. Like, I mean, just somebody who jumps off the page. And not to mention he looks different, right? Like he's not your prototypical PGA Tour player. I don't think he's hitting the weights very hard. Definitely enjoys a cold beverage. And more than anything, on top of that, seeing what, you know, he did with such a stage that he had after his, you know, second win to spend that talking about a friend and, you know, to be fair, and Grayson Murray, but still, like, it just shows he's a good person. And the tour needs those kind of guys. I hope he wins the 3rd event, but either way, I'm looking forward to Harry Higgs being, you know, back on the PGA Tour and me inevitably betting on him and him probably disappointing me.
Yeah, it does tend to happen. It does tend to happen, but you hit a good point there that I don't know if there's exactly a correlation. I think it's just a kind of a pocket of the PGA time that we're in right now is that a lot of the characters that we do view as characters and big personalities and fun personalities, they're not necessarily playing the best golf right now, unfortunately. You know, and I think there's opportunity. We're seeing guys like Davis Riley. We're seeing some of these younger guys or lesser known guys to the casual golf fan winning tournaments throughout this year that I think they have a chance to kind of fill that personality role if they kind of stay up in there. But yeah, you're right. Guys like Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, they have fun personalities that you can sit out there and watch. They share their emotions, but neither one of them are necessarily on top of their game right now. Xander's just quieter. It does seem to be an issue right now, and I think that's part of why Liv is still alive because I think the talent has been bridged. I don't think there's a massive talent disparity. Yes, Liv has some guys that we've talked about here on this show. I think a lot of those guys are kind of happy with just playing a part-time schedule and just playing the majors, and they're fine with that. So they wouldn't be doing much for the PGA anyways. But the talent is whatever. But the personality, sure. Liv's got some personality over there right now. Now
they do a better presentation too, which is something that, again, I have such a problem with PGA, and I'm not one of those people. It's like, oh, I can do it so much better. But if I work for the comms team, I'm going, okay, the biggest hit you've had in the last few years by far was Full Swing. Why not do something like that during the season where you could show that stuff? Through the event, when a player comes up that you're following, you could show what they've been doing for the week. And we talked about this on my ESPN Inside Drive, you know, appearance each week, that why not like concentrate on the guys that are on the bubble? Because that's such a different life than the guys that they're on Full Swing who are all multi-millionaires. And if they never won another golf tournament, they're going to be fine. They're going to be living basically the life they're living right now. It's a totally different game for these guys that are grinding week to week, trying to make a career out of it, trying to stay on the PGA Tour. And I think that would just bring so much interest to the game, but they're just so stuck in in the game of golf that people are stuck in their ways and they don't want to change things. But it's a television product. At the end of the day, that's what it is a television product. And I just feel there's so much better ways for them to use the time that they have on air to build stars much quicker than if they're just going by results, which is basically what they're banking on.
Yeah, I mean, just mirror Hard Knocks the way HBO has done it for years with the NFL. It's the exact same thing that you're laying out right here. And even think about the biggest success that have come out of Full Swing, the stories and the players that people have gravitated to. Your Joel Diamonds, who lives on the bubble right now, but everybody loves his story from both seasons. I think he was still the star of even the second season. But guys like Tom Kim, who are like not quite there yet, but we know they're gonna be there, like. There's so many opportunities there. And let's be honest, there is going to be live golf on Netflix soon. Like, it's going to happen now that they've signed the deal to get a game or two of the NFL. Like, live sports is slowly going to be creeping its way into Netflix. There's even more opportunities they can do to then, like, follow those. They can even use clips because it's all in-house during the tournament. Clips from like that, whatever you want. I don't know what you would call it. What would you call it? You think like the Hard Knocks version? They already got Full Swing. You can't do that. Like, what would be a good name to call something like that? Actually,
I don't know. Maybe like Golf Beyond the Ropes, something like that. Just Golfers Beyond. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that again, there's all this dead time is what I call it during a PGA Tour event where we're not gaining anything as viewers. They're not giving any groundbreaking information. Why not have video packages and stuff to set up to, again, get us to know the golfers? I am a huge wrestling fan. Always have been. Okay. Wrestling is at its best when they're telling great stories outside of the ring. No matter how good the match is in between the ropes, when there's interesting angles from outside the ring, it enhances the product. Golf would be no different. Everything is. I mean, that's why ESPN in a lot of ways has turned into, as Brittany, my wife calls it, the sob story, right? Like where you get like, especially the NFL and like NBA draft, it's like, one of the profiles is just going to be, God almighty, like little Timmy stuck in the well. But it's entertaining, right? Like at least gets you to where you feel like you know this person more than just a guy who looks and dresses a lot like almost every other golfer on tour, just with a different name. And I think that it would help them build stars. And what a great time to try something like this, because you lost so much talent to the LIV Tour. And LIV does this too. Like LIV has a bunch of cool stuff, whether it be on social media, YouTube, whatever. Like, I don't understand why the PGA Tour is not literally just copying that. Even if it's not in the telecast, why not have more stuff on social media where you could say during the telecast, if you go to our YouTube page, you can see a profile on this player who is contending for this, championship on Saturday or Sunday.
Well, and even what's unique about golf when compared to other sports, obviously out of the big four, hockey, baseball, basketball, football, like that's 32 teams that people already have built-in reasons to cheer for a group of guys. The stories can be kind of second, like cherries on top of all that. But with golf, with, any given week, 150, 160 guys, most of those people don't really know anything about. You got to give them something to cheer for. Like, and I've noticed that even with, I've told the story before. My girlfriend, Anna here, she started watching golf with me, but what drew her in was Full Swing and learning about Wyndham Clark's story, and she was absolutely touched by his story and his rise of overcoming what he overcame. And now anytime he's in a tournament, she's asking me, oh, how's my guy Clark doing? Like, now she's a fan of somebody. Like, and it's not just like a small example. Like, that happens so much more often. You gotta give
F1 is a prime example. I never watched F1, and all of a sudden I'm watching the Netflix series. I know who all these guys are, and if a race is on, I actually watch it, even though I have no idea what's going on. But it just gives you a rooting interest. And to your point, it can get more casuals, which, let's be honest, golf has proven over the years they're not going to lose the diehards. We're going to be there, no matter what. But it's adapt or die, and it's like if you want to grow your audience, you got to get people outside of those people that are going to be there every single week and grow those numbers, and especially grow younger people, which we know by being on a streaming service, being on YouTube, whatever. It's more likely that's how they're viewing stuff anyway, whether they ever watch a telecast or not.
Correct. And I think that's where baseball failed. They banked so long on that generation that is now, frankly, 55 and over. That's their main viewing generation now. And we're not even seeing like the changes they made to bring down the game time, which from what I can tell has actually been very successful. They've gotten the average game time down by quite a bit, it seems. And I'm not even watching games, but I just know from the time I get a notification that the Red Sox started to the time that says the game's end, I'll look at the time and say, wow, that's pretty damn fast. So they made these changes, but it was almost like it was too late. And I don't want to see the PGA end up in that same boat because, baseball, I think, has a better chance to recover from something like that than necessarily the PGA does, unfortunately. So wake up, I hope. I hope they start. And it seems like they're on that path, honestly. Even just the fact that they opened up that Q tournament for the Myrtle Beach Classic to the YouTubers and whatnot like that.
Completely agree. Yep.
They're starting to dip their toe in. As long as they keep doing things like that, or that at least on the same kind of
trying
mindset.
It with these matches and stuff, like I'll give them credit. There's just so much more they could be doing, and it's not that expensive is what drives me crazy. It's like with the production you're already doing, God, throwing up a YouTube video, you just need a phone for God's sakes, and a few golfers to agree to do a par 3 challenge with a driver. I mean, it's easy stuff that they're doing both on the European tour and also on LIV.
Yeah. Nope, it's so true, and so we'll see with the PGA if they continue that. I hope they do. But let's not. We touched on Davis Riley earlier. Davis Riley came out this past week, comfortably wins the Charles Schwab Challenge. I know Scotty Scheffler was trying to make a push there at the end, but I mean, Riley still ends up winning by 5. He really just seemed to be in the zone all week. I honestly didn't watch too much of this tournament. It's the Charles Schwab Challenge. It is what it is. Did you catch a lot of it? Did you, or were you in the same boat as me?
No, I did. Again, I got issues, mostly because I'm a degenerate and also because we were hanging out at my in-laws. They have a pool. I'm not the tannest guy in the world, so it's like I can spend a little time out there. If I spend too much longer, I'm going to be red. So I'm like, I'll go in and watch golf. It was actually his Saturday round that I was just like, holy cow, is this dude zoned in? He started with a 4-shot lead. In case you missed it, freaking pipe drive on one, the par 5, hit it to like 20 feet, didn't hit a great putt, 2-putt birdie, easiest can be. Again, hit a monster laser drive, like 340 yards on one of the tightest fairways you'll ever see.
Okay.
Dead center, hit it stiff, makes birdie. He's 2 under through 2. All of a sudden the lead 6. And just all week, whenever he needed it, his ball striking was out of, just basically on another level. But again, it's also funny when these guys have good putting weeks that are ball strikers. They end up usually winning. And he was like first in the field in strokes gained tee to green, and strokes gained off the tee. But he was also like 3rd in putting and 5th around the green. So when that happens, good things. But I'm also just amazed at guys like Davis Riley, who now this is a 2nd win. I know one of them was a team event, but he's also been in a playoff. It's just weird for these guys. Like the ones I have the hardest time figuring out are the guys that seem to just either struggle or they're going to contend. Yeah. And it's crazy because there's so many other guys that like they'll finish top 20 all day long, but they never really get close to winning. Riley is one of these guys that, I mean, for so early in his career, he was a stud at Alabama. Again, I told you I love the collegiate championships. I watched him when Alabama won a national championship, be a big player in that. He just, like, when he's on, he's really good. It is surprising, though, that a guy that's now won 2 events and, basically won a 3rd. He lost in the playoff, but, at the end of the term, he was tied for the lead. And, I mean, he can't, finish in the top 50 most weeks.
Yeah, and you know who that guy for me always is? It's Keegan Bradley for me. And now Keegan Bradley is obviously one of major, like, it's a little bit different pedigree than what we're talking about here with Davis Riley, but just the notion of, like, guys that I can never get right. And that's why I've just hit the point where anytime if Keegan Bradley pops in my model, he's going to contend. Right. If he doesn't pop up in my top 10 at all, that means he's missing the cut. It doesn't mean if he's just outside of it at 15, that doesn't matter. If he could be 11, he's missing the cut. It doesn't matter. He's got to be top 10 in my math model in order for me to play him because he will contend those weeks. And that's why I said if Bradley pops, I don't care. I got to play him. So
Chaz Reevy's another guy for me like that it seems like he wins once every few years. And other than that, he almost struggles for his card year after year. I think he actually lost it 1 or 2 years in the last 6, 7, but he does about every 2.5 years. He's going to win an event. And I'll be interested to see what Riley does moving forward. Because again, he proved this week, not only does he have the game, what to me was more impressive was Saturday, again, he came out, put his foot on people's throat. That's what Tiger used to do in his heyday, not obviously compared to Davis Riley Tiger, but it's a good sign, right? When you're going out, being the aggressor, trying to extend the lead, let's get this thing over with. Yeah. And then I'm not going to lie, even being 4 shots ahead with Scheffler and the fact that he had not made a bogey now and like, I don't know, it was some ridiculous 40 holes. Yeah, I thought for sure Scheffler was going to win this. And he did not fold at all. Like he really didn't. Yeah. He made the one mistake on the front. And other than that, I thought he played really well. And most importantly, again, like what Tiger did in his heyday, he didn't do anything special, but he knew I had this buffer. Let me just not make the mistakes. And if these guys get closer, then I'll adjust, and just played really well. He's an impressive player. And I just want to see more consistency from him because I like Davis Riley a lot as a golfer.
Yeah, it was almost pretty much a perfect week for him. And yeah, you reference his team win. I believe that was with Aaron Rye at the Zurich. I think it was the Zurich one year.
Yep.
So yeah, so that I was gonna say I know it was recent. So yeah, so that's great. And yeah, like I said, Scheffler, the door was wide open in my opinion, but Riley came in and did what he did.
Scheffler's been going through some stuff, to be fair. Had a baby, got arrested, so, and he still keeps showing up, which I'm shocked. I keep thinking, oh, he's going to back out. And it's, again, why I just love Scheffler. No, he just keeps showing up. I'm like, yeah, I'll play.
Which, did you see the newest video that came out this past week? The other angle of the arrest that was taken from like a building security camera or something? Did you catch that?
I did.
Did you have any thoughts on it?
Just that I'm shocked. The head of the police said that we're going to let the video speak for itself. It's like, fucking, are you serious? Like, because I still haven't seen anything.
The report.
Exactly.
Completely contradicted the report.
I just, again, it's mind-blowing to me because even the court said when they met that we're going to allow the police to investigate if this arrest was handled correctly. We already know immediately without seeing the video, the answer to that is no, it was not, because it is a law in Louisville. He's supposed to turn on his camera. Did he do that? No. Sure, and it's already an illegal. Yeah, it's already an illegal arrest in that sense right there. And then on top of that, I just like, again, the coordination was really messed up for this because in some ways I feel for the cop because he was not involved with the tournament. So he's going, look at this unbelievable dude just, driving. Yeah. When Scheffler and them, this is what they do in these tournaments. This is how they get to the event, even though traffic is backed up a mile. As they're told, around it. You just drive around. And the cops see that seal on the side with the tournament. And they go, okay, it's basically like being an extra police car. You have the ability to kind of go wherever you want. Please. But the fact that there was no coordination the day of the event, even when he was arrested afterward. No. And now it just feels like the police are just dug in to where they don't want to admit their mistake. And I don't understand. To me, it would have been such an easy thing. Just come out like, look, we took it very seriously because somebody had died. And this person was not abiding by the police officer. Knowing now the situation and what is the norm for PGA Tour players and what Scheffler was trying to do, this was just a huge misunderstanding. We're going to let bygones be bygones. And I think neither looks bad. But now that you're digging in, it's like, what's your agenda here?
Well, and that's the thing. Because that cop wasn't part of the tour kind of crew. He was there because of obviously the emergency that happened with the accident with the bus. He wasn't a part of any of the event briefings throughout the week that these guys are kind of told how it works. Because I think the things people forget about here is that, yes, they're police. This is their town. Like they're, quote unquote in charge, but they are essentially kind of being rented out for this event.
They're contractors. Absolutely.
They're contracted for the event, and so they are told kind of how it works, and they just do it abidedly. And and before that video came out this past week, I was very much on the fence of, okay, like I get why they arrested Scotty. That scene was hectic. It's dark. Right. It's early in the morning. No one was expecting this, and their emotions are highly. I get it. From their point of view, all they saw was a car driving, and they did what they had to do. And then I said, I think the charges will probably be dropped and everybody will move on and be their happy way. But yeah, and I saw that video and I was like, it's not cool that you can put a police officer can put a report out there in writing and submit it and it have very little factual evidence in it to match a
video. My co-host Alan, who's an African-American and is from like that area, he goes, welcome to how black people have felt in Louisville for years. Because he said, this is the way the cops are. They're ultra aggressive, usually overreact. A lot of times their reports don't match like when they've had video evidence what actually occurred. And it was just like, I mean, the minute I saw him slam the windshield when Scheffler couldn't have been moving seriously 5-10 miles an hour at the most. Like it was a deal where his foot was off the brake. Right.
He just turned.
And it's like, that was enough for me to see, okay. And just the laughable part of like his pants were damaged beyond repair. It's like, really?
No way.
That would have been better just to leave off even that was true.
His hand hurt from holding
on
to the car.
Oh, from slamming his hand probably down on the windshield.
The key things I saw is there was no dragging. Scheffler stopped like the second after he made the turn because he saw cops were closing in on him basically. And now
I think he also felt safe if he got in the property, because that's basically what he did was he pulled onto the property. Correct. Okay, now somebody here will understand what I was doing, even if this cop's going crazy.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the one thing, because his body cam wasn't on, the one missing information we have is what was said to each other in that 30 seconds before he was taken out of the car and when he was stopped at the window there. That I'm not saying that's going to change anything enough, because nothing was put in the report about what was said there. So as far as I can tell, Scheffler handled himself respectfully. But that's just the one missing bit of information that I would love to know. I don't see
Scheffler, though, from all I know about him. And again, I don't know Scotty Scheffler, but even my wife made the comment, this is the most boring, vanilla, nice guy I've ever seen in my life from watching the full swing. So I just don't see new daddy Scotty Scheffler being like, fuck you. You know, you don't tell me what to do. Yeah, like, with this air of, arrogance or whatever that I'm getting in. I mean, to me, I always think back to him being walked off in handcuffs, and it was pitiful hearing him like ask the ESPN guy, can you help me? Like he sounded like a person that was terrified. And my biggest concern, I keep saying this, is we talk about golf trauma all the time. And you think about Jordan Spieth hitting at the water at 12 at Augusta when he won 2 majors, and he's never been the same. Scotty Scheffler went through real trauma at a major championship, and there's no telling how that's going to affect his psyche moving forward. I don't really look at this last event, but I'm very interested to see how he does at the U.S. Open, and I'm very interested to see how he does at the Open Championship, because this is a guy that kind of grabbed major championships by the throats. Sure. And if we're being honest, may have had a major stolen here from this situation, considering he shot 4 under his first round without having played in 5 weeks, a competitive round, and then shot 5 under immediately after this. And just unfortunately, I really feel like if Ted Scott would have been there on Saturday,
the
he would have been in contention. It was just a bad time. Like I love that Scheffler let him take the day off, because that's what they're all about. They're all about family first, God, family, all that stuff. But if there was ever a time he needed Ted Scott, it was Saturday, when I think everything had sunk in and he wasn't rushing to the golf course, because everybody's like, well, how do you play Friday? I'm like, I don't think he even thought about everything that was going on, because everything happened so fast that within 4 hours he was arrested, processed, released, and then teeing off. So I just think that it could have affected him potentially winning another major, and I'm worried he's going to have scar tissue moving forward from the trauma of the entire experience.
Well, it'll definitely be a storyline to be watching going forward. That saga is not over. Real fast, let's hear from Underdog Fantasy here, and then when we come back, going to quickly touch on the Lexi Thompson retiring, and then we will get into the fantasy implications and emergency 9 rankings for this week at the RBC Canadian Open.
Season off in the win column with Best Ball. What is Best Ball? It's quite simply the easiest way to win. No team management, no trades, no waivers. It's their biggest contest ever, and it has only gotten bigger. You simply have to sit and win. You don't even have to set your lineup. Always get your best score every week. Just enter a contest, draft your team, and Underdog will do the rest. What could make this even better? How about free money, up to $100 using our exclusive promo code? Go online now and use the promo code DIVPIV to double your deposit up to $100. You tell them Gingerbread sent you. Good girl.
That's right. Gingerbread never steers us wrong each and every week here. Lexi Thompson, though, obviously big news that came out today. retiring at the end of this season. She will finish this season out. I was a little curious by the wording of the announcement, saying that she's going to retire from full-time golf at the age of 29. So I'll be curious to see if that means anything in the coming seasons.
She's joining the Live Tour in a couple of weeks.
Oh, hey now.
I'm kidding.
I also don't think that's gonna happen, but that's the first time.
I was gonna say, I don't know if the Saudis would exactly be cool with that. From what I know about them.
This is a good point. But she cites once again, she cites mental health here. She had a bunch of quotes in the announcement about how it feels to go out there doing something they love. But obviously there's going to be people out there who talk negatively, who expect more than you can handle at 100% every single day. And it is a reality, as we touched on with Grayson Murray earlier. It's a reality that I think is easy to lose sight of, but has massive effects on people when we do lose sight of it. So I commend her for stepping away if that's what she feels like she needs to do, especially because she is obviously one of the biggest stars in the LPGA, winning 15 times. I believe she only has the one major though, right?
She does, just the US
just
Open,
the one major.
But at Pinehurst, where they're actually playing the US Open this year, so.
Still very. I'm not trying to take anything away from her. I just want to make sure I had that right.
No, yeah.
So Lexi Thompson, we'll see what full-time retirement or retiring from full-time means. But obviously the LPGA losing a star, Nelly Korda has obviously taken over that whole league, basically. Followed closely behind with Rose Zhang. So I think LPGA is in good hands and is exciting moving forward. Do you have any good Lexi Thompson stories on the top of your head, or are you ready to move right into fantasy golf here?
I just always like to remind people, because yes, she only won one major. It's kind of like Michelle Wie, but I just want to remind people, she first started qualifying for U.S. Opens at 13 years of age, and she's made it every year, whether through qualifying or as just her status on the LPGA where she automatically qualifies since then. So she's also had a really long career, which it's easy to kind of forget that, but I think she was pro at 16.
She won her first event at 16.
So
I think she won the first one at 16, yeah.
So, I mean, when you think about it that way, that's a long time to be on the grind of the PGA Tour or LPGA Tour. And again, I'm a huge wrestling fan. The biggest thing when you hear in these autobiographies and stuff that people do not account enough for is the travel and the fact that you are on the road all the time. And think about how much you enjoy being at your home. I know I love nothing better than being in my recliner at my house. And just that on the road all the time, I think it really takes a toll, and it makes it really tough to have significant relationships. We saw this with Tony Finau, who really had a renaissance on the PGA Tour. We found this out through Full Swing when he finally said, F it, I'm taking the entire bunch with me on the road, even though in the interim, this may be difficult. But I think overall for his mental health and everything, it helped him. So I totally understand and support what she's doing. And I think with her status, she'll be able to, if she wants to, just play in majors and stuff. And I feel like that, again, for somebody who's been on the tour since she was like 15, 16 years old, she's earned the right to do that. And, kind of also step aside for these young people that you're talking about that, again, the women's game has just got an embarrassment of riches with more young women players coming up every day.
Yeah, I think the women's game is in a great state right now, and I like I said, I have no issue. Obviously, I don't have the right to have an issue with Lexi Thompson retiring, but even if I did, I would have no issue.
You understand it is kind of more, Yeah,
I understand it. It makes sense, and I, like I said, if anything, I commend her for kind of keeping the important things in life right in the foreground and knowing that this is what she wants to do. If anything, she knows exactly what she wants to do with her life right now. And I commend her for following that, because I think a lot of people are sometimes afraid to take that step. That is a big step to continue following that dream. So good for you, Lexi Thompson. We wish you well in your retirement. But let's get into the fantasy golf, because we got the RBC Canadian Open this week. Hamilton Golf and Country Club. Similar to last week, we have another par 70, but this week we're taking 200 yards off compared to what we had last week. Because last week we had a monster par 70. This week we're about more average, 7,084 yards. I don't expect anything too crazy tough about this course, other than the fact that I think there's going to be some safety plays off the tee. And I think there's going to be a lot of longer shots into the green. So I'm looking for guys who can hit approach shots from your 200 plus yardages out. And for those who need to play it safe even from there, I'm looking for guys with good short game, because I think some guys will be coming up a little short or maybe a little wide left or right around the green. So I want short game, proximity 200 plus. I want guys who are good at par fours, 400 to 450. And then my typical always go to is my approach and my putting. Those are my 5 key stats that I'm watching this week when it comes to tackling the Hamilton Golf and Country Club. Now, for our viewership, obviously we talked to you mid-Masters last time we had you on, so we haven't had you on pre-tournament yet. How do you like to tackle your research when going into finding your bets or even your DFS plays, or however you choose to go about trying to make money off of these golf tournaments?
So this is a weird week because, again, this venue has not hosted a Canadian Open since 2019. I think it's like 6 total in the history. And we need another caveat. They've done a really big renovation of this golf course since the tournament was last held here in 2019. Yeah. And if I learned anything from the freaking coverage last week, it's, man, when they redo the greens, these guys – it's excusable that they can't read a putt because they must have said 1,000 freaking times. All of these new greens, these guys just don't know the real. These are supposed to be the best golfers in the world. Cry me a freaking river.
I know.
But normally I look at historical data like that. That's always what I go to. Like I belong to BetSpert. That's a newer site. Ron Close, who I think is the best data guy in the business. He migrated over there. I migrated with my dollars over there with him because he's very, very smart. And one thing I love about that is they will go through in his article, which I think is free. If it's not, it's very affordable to join his membership. He usually includes for events what categories have historically over the last 5 tournaments held there been weighted more. Like, where have we seen the guys that are in the top 10, top 20 win, et cetera? Yep. What categories have been most important? And then usually that is where I start and diverge. On a week like this, go full Kobe Bryant. Shoot your shot. There is no bad shot. If you got a feeling about somebody, go right ahead. But to me, you're completely on pace. Anytime I don't know a golf course, I'm going to look immediately at strokes gained approach. I looked at good drives gained this week. Whether it be total driving, strokes gained off tee, all those. I mean, it's potato in a lot of ways, but I do agree with you that I think that in a lot of ways, these guys are going to lay back. Rory won't, if you watch his performance in 2019, but those are great. And then I always, what I like about this venue, and again, this is something I liked about BetSpert, was I did lean heavily into strokes gained around the green off tight surfaces. Because almost every green, the complex around it, very tight lies. These are going to have a lot of roll-offs, tight lies. Think Scotty Scheffler, who's I think the best in the world right now at doing that. But one great thing about BetSpert is they have a feature where I literally just searched off of what you consider courses with tight fairways around the greens. I leaned very heavily into that. And then the other thing I really looked into was birdie or better percentage this week on par 4s. To your point, the par 4s is going to play a huge factor. And it's one of the weird weeks to actually look more into par 3 and par 4 scoring than par 5, to where, like, when we were going into the PGA, par 5, par 5, par 5, because there was 3 par 5s. They were like the only 3 super easy holes on the golf course. I needed to know guys at least were going to get theirs on those holes. But I mean, each week you attack it different, but this to me is truly a week where don't feel like you have to explain yourself to anybody. Nobody freaking knows. They ain't had an event here since 2019. They can have a hunch of which way the data goes, but there is no concrete data that will give you a leg up this week. So whatever you're feeling, this is one of those weeks I think it's fun both for betting cards and DFS, because you can get really creative. And if anybody tries to tell you that's a dumb play, tell them to go F themselves.
Yeah, and to your point, though, like you said, the par 5, there's only 2 par 5s this week. They're both the 17th and 18th. Well, no, it's not the whole number, but they're ranking the easiest golf holes on the course. And then to your other point, the par 3s, par Par 3-6 is the second hardest on the course. The par 3-8 is the third hardest. The par 3-13 is the fourth hardest. So like, yeah, that's a solid point right there. The par threes are going to be what's going to eat these guys alive, it seems. And it's probably, like you said, the roll off and the tight lies around the green. So I bet you if you adjust a fraction off it, you're going to end up with a bogey putt very quickly. So those are what we're kind of looking at here. Now, the way we typically do this, Keith, is I'm going to quickly kind of run through my 9 here. I'm going to give my 9 rankings. We call it the emergency 9. And then from there, you can give however many rankings you want, or if you just want to kind of talk about the guys you like, I'm also cool with that.
Sure.
But to stay consistent, let's get into the emergency 9 real fast. So to kick us off, as always, we're going to start at the bottom at number 9. I want to throw Shane Lowry in here. He wasn't necessarily heavily popping my model. He wasn't far off, but Shane Lowry just seems to be a guy that is he's in the right headspace right now. He's playing good golf, but I also do like what I'm seeing out of him on social media, talking about the time spending with his family. He just seems to be kind of in the smooth, happy motion right now. Those are guys that they tend to carry that onto the golf course. So Shane Lowry, I got to get in there at number 9. Number 8, Andrew Novak. Number 7, Mackenzie Hughes. Number 6, I'm going to go with Sahith Theegala, a guy who was actually ranking higher in my model, but I just can't find myself to trust him fully at this moment. Number 5,
a wise decision.
Number 5, Kelly Craft. Number 4, Party Martin Laird. Number 3, Alex Noren. Number 2, Akshay Bhatia. And then number 1, Rory McIlroy. Those are my 9 rankings. And you can find those on social media in the coming days leading up to the tournament. So first of all, what do you think about that? Do you think I'm way off? I mean, I know you said shoot your shot. It doesn't matter. I don't want to tell you, but how do you feel when were there any names that popped out of you that you just felt like, oh, what is he thinking on this one?
Again, for this venue, I mean, I can't say anybody is like, oh my God. I will say that Akshay Bhatia is on my shit list right now.
Well, this cut last week did not help.
2 weeks in a row, he killed a bunch of DFS lineups with the I'm talking about. I had him as my number 1 ranked guy last week. Everywhere with friggin' Akshay at the PGA. So yeah. I'm kind of upset at him. You know, it's just one of those deals where I'm mad at him. I really like the Kelly Craft play. I know there's not a big sample size here recently, but his skill set equates to this venue and what it's going to take. I also really like the Robert McIntyre play. He is somebody who I feel like is gaining momentum. Honestly, I was shocked he hasn't done better because I think he's one of the better players to come over from the I mean, and again, I love Robert McIntyre. If for nothing else, in the first event that the caddies could wear whatever on their bibs, he put the freaking Ryder Cup score playing with one of the Americans. I don't remember which one of those in the Ryder Cups. Like, I love that kind of pettiness.
That's a guy who needs to be in future Ryder Cups just for that, because he's going to bring that energy.
I love the pettiness.
Yes.
I am shocked that you'll go out on one with Rory being number 1, considering he's won, I think, 3 out of the last 4 of these that he's played in. And this, again, if you don't remember, 2019, he dominated this course. Like, absolutely dominated. And if he gets that driver going, like we know he's capable of, if you watched his last win, it could be the same thing. Where I think he runs away with it. Again, that sucks for a betting purpose because
there's no value.
It's disgusting, man. Like, and also I just want to say, like, screw you to DK and FanDuel in those places, because used to the props was where I ate.
Yeah.
Because you could find outrageous top 20, top 10 odds on guys. And because now you have these conglomerates doing it, that they're so used to the data from football and basketball, like they're different than the casinos. I'm sorry, it's a different avenue. I think they're actually better. And if you look, they've set the market at the casinos now with these props to where you just can't make the money that you used to, or at least not get the return on your investment that you used to. Where, like, I always think back to Phil Mickelson 2 years at the Masters. He was 22-1 to top 10 going into that. And I'm going, really? Like, Phil Mickelson, I'm getting 22-1 odds at this venue? I'll take that all day. Rory is my favorite DK play this week. I do mostly cash game lineups. He's going to anchor pretty predominantly all of them. I've been doing it with Scheffler this year. Take the talent, especially in a weak field. You talked about he's won it. First stroke in strokes gained total in Canada last 36 rounds. Third in strokes gained approach. He's basically good at freaking everything. Aaron Rai, I really like this week. He's part of my official DK lineup.
Aaron Rai was close for me too. He was on the bubble.
So he's 8,900. I like him 35 to 1 to win, plus 350 top 10. 39th or better in 8 of his last 10 starts on tour. 5th in good drive percentage, last 24. That's big. He's 3rd in strokes gained total at Canada over his last 36. And just absolute ball striker. We talked about he's 32nd in par 3 scoring. I think Tom Kim's an extreme value in DFS this week. He's going to be in my official lineup. He's 8,600. Also, screw it, 35 to 1 to win, plus 750 top 5. He's finished 30th or better in 4-6 after a really slow start to the season. I know he had a disastrous round Sunday, but I actually was encouraged that, again, that was 3 or 4 out of last 6. He's played pretty well. 13th in driving, actually, which we talked about. If you can get it in the fairway, he's 6th in proximity this year from the fairway. So if he gets in the fairway, that's big. 14th in total birdies. And then the big thing for me, top 10 in comp courses, strokes gained total. And that is going by basically, again, this is something that BetSpert's using. I'm trusting their instincts on that. Mackenzie Hughes, who you mentioned, 8,300. Got to take a Canadian in this event.
You have to.
Did the cut 2 or 3 times in the Canadian Open, including the T14th, actually at this venue in 2019. So I like that. Patton Kazir is the 5th guy in my lineup. He's 6,300, 130 to 1 to win, 11 to 1 to top 10. Had a horrible start to a season. Don't get me wrong. 3 consecutive finishes at T24 or better. 6 in strokes gained approach on the season. 3rd in green and regulation percentage. 9th in proximity. What I liked, he's 7th on tour putting inside 10 feet this year. 10th in birding average, but this is the big one for me. 2nd in par 4 scoring. 3rd in par 4 scoring average. He finished T38 last year at the Canadian Open. Kazir's the kind of guy I would not be shocked at all if he ends up winning this event. And then because I use Rory, because, that's going to mean I got to go real to the bottom of the barrel. Robbie Shelton, I like him. 5,700. He's 11 to 1 to top 10, plus 550 to top 20. He's 8th in strokes gained around the greens. He's really good off those tight lies. 10th on approaches from 125 to 150 yards. This isn't an overly long golf course. And then the big thing, 1st in par 3 birdie or better percentage. I like to hear that. And then real quickly, just some other DK play bets I have. I'm with you on Thagala. I am going to bet him 18 to 1. This field's so weak that I feel like that it's disgusting, but in like today's terms, it's not that disgusting. I do really like him at 4 to 1 to top 5 on DK. I think that's a good place. He's made the cut in both Canadian Open starts. 8th in par 4 birdie or better percentage. Quietly putting really well. 5th in strokes gained putting his last 24 rounds. 10th in par 3 scoring, 30th in par 4, so he shouldn't have issues with that. I am going back to Fleetwood, 10,300, 16 to 1 to win, plus 360 top 5. Lost in a playoff here in 2023. His Canadian Open start before that finished T6 in 2018, so for whatever reason, he likes playing in Canada. 5th in strokes gained on tight lies around the greens. Somebody, again, that has finished 13th or better in 3 of his last 5 starts. 3rd in driving accuracy this year. 7th in scrambling. And 12th in par 4 scoring. 12 par 4. So guys need to eat that. Again, you mentioned McIntyre. I like him as well. 7,100. 71 to win. Plus 650 top 10. 13th or better 2 of the last 3 starts. He is 4th scrambling around tight lies. The big thing here, finished T6. I know this is a stretch, but this is what we're looking for. Like this. He finished T6 in the 2019 Open Championship, which was designed by the same guy who did the redesign of this course, Martin Ebert. There are some similarities from what I've read. And then rounding it out, I love Kevin Tway this week, 6,700 on DK.
Kevin Tway. Haven't heard
he
his
made
name
the
in a
cut
while.
here in 2019. 4 straight cuts made. 3 top 25 finishes in that span on tour. I watched Tway last week because, again, I'm a degenerate and I didn't have nothing else going on. his ball striking was unreal. And he actually had for this season a bad putting weekend, or he would have really been right there and actually had a chance to like finish runner up or third. His average proximity from the fairway this year, 16 feet. That is ball striking. He's gained 0.4 strokes or more on the season and total strokes total around the greens and putting. He has not played enough events or rounds to qualify for rankings, but I can promise you 16 feet on fairway proximity would be top 10. I didn't have time to look it up. I actually think it may be first overall. So that's the kind of ball striking he's doing. I think this is a course that'll set up well for him. And twice in my, when he gets playing well, it's usually by his ball striking, and he's just going to continue to make cuts because he hits it. So it's almost like a mini Lucas Glover in many ways.
I love that. And while you were talking there, I was quickly pulling up some projected ownerships for some of the guys you were throwing out there. So both Akshay and Tom Kim are going to be looking to be sitting around 12-13% owned on DraftKings, which I'll take that, especially, like I said, on a week that I'm most likely going to have to pay up for Rory McIlroy, who's going to be also 22%, 23% ownership. Like, you're going to have to get some guys in those lower teens and definitely in the single digits. So definitely like that as well. Kevin Tway, someone you mentioned, 7% projected ownership. Andrew Novak, 6%. And I want to say, I forget who it was now, one of the guys you said, Patton Kazire, down around 3% ownership. So that could be a massive play, as well as Robert McIntyre, between 3 and 4% ownership. So a couple of guys that you mentioned that could really pop and land a top 10, top 5 finish here. You could
these
get
greens in the areas around it, very similar to kind of the open Scottish, what you're used to playing over in, that part of the country. No surprise, Rory won here in 2019. And obviously Robert McIntyre is a great link style. I know it's not technically a link style golf course to the green, but it is similar to a link style course in the sense that the greens are extremely undulated, a lot of runoff, probably won't be super fast because, again, you can't do that with all that undulation. And that's kind of why Rory feasted here in 2019. And again, I think he's a heavy favorite. I would be terrified with the way that, even the way he played at the PGA, but definitely the way he played at Wells Fargo. If he drives it like that, I don't even think anybody in the field has a chance. Yeah.
So we'll see if he can, if he steps up this week. Look, that's gonna pretty much do it for us here as we wrap up the RBC Canadian Open. Before we leave, Keith, I know you're gonna be heading on to your next show here. Where can people find you to watch that show, listen to that show that you got coming up here later tonight?
Well, it's wrestling, so again, you've got to be a redneck or a little bit immature to enjoy that. But that is actually the Inside Squared Circle. Me and 3 of my buddies started that a few months ago. We just get together, shoot the shit on wrestling. We actually do talk old wrestling, the nostalgia part, which a lot of places don't do. But tonight we'll be covering the 2 pay-per-views from WWE and AEW this weekend. You can find all my stuff, though, at Keith Flemming, doing content for both Fantasy Six Pack and Fantasy and Frames, both amazing websites. Check those out. Going on ESPN Northwest Florida every Wednesday for about 45 minutes this time of year, talking golf, the Inside Drive. We'll do that tomorrow, previewing this event. Because I'm a masochist, I'm going to talk about the worst Atlanta sports team gut punches in my lifetime. And the reason this is being brought up is because with Luka's ascension and looking like he may be 5 games away from winning a title, just to remind people, we drafted him and traded him for Trae Young. It's a tough beat, man, but it's very on brand for Atlanta. And then the other thing, because I love the underdog stuff you guys got going on, I've gotten to best balls the last couple of years. I cannot recommend them enough. It's the way to go. I think it's I really think it's the wave of the future for this. If you're not a DFS degenerate like I am, but my good friend Stacey Perez with Fantasy and Frames, every Thursday night on Fantasy and Frames, she does a draft show. Myself, Kevin Tompkins, Rachel Sickles go on there, and she'll get into one of these, whether it be on Underdog or FCPP, whatever it may be, and actually do a draft. And not going to lie, the commentary does not always stay 100% on brand with the draft, but we have a good time, and it does give you a chance to just kind of see where these drafts are going. If you listen like on Spotify, we always post a link with a screenshot of how the draft actually went. But if you are somebody that is looking for a way to get better in your fantasy leagues, this is the kind of thing that's a great way to do that, because
Definitely.
it's one thing to watch a bunch of mock drafts on some of these sites with a bunch of schmoes. These things actually cost money to get into. So people are taking them a little bit more seriously, and it'll give you a better idea, especially post-draft, of kind of where are you going to have to get these guys in your drafts come, late July, August, etc. I think it's a really good show. I'm proud of Stacy, who I think is one of the best in the business, and she's really good at best ball too. You should check that show out. It's every Thursday night at 9 p.m. on Fantasy and Frames.
Love it. Well, thank you again for coming on, Keith. Always a pleasure to have you. We'll have you on again sometime. But that is going to do it for us here on Divots and Pivots. Enjoy your night, everybody. Check us out every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock on That Sports Podcast Network. And as always, stay classy, friends.